Hey YouTubers, Roland Martin here, time for another YouTube adventure. Hey, you know, I'm reflecting back. I'm going to fish another tournament this week. Do you know that I started my tournament career 50 years ago, almost to the day? This is like, you know, February, but actually January of 1970 is when I started my tournament fishing. And you know, over the years, it was I had a lot of success in tournaments. It was the springboard of opportunity that created my credibility in the industry, and I could go and get a television show, and I'd write books, and I'd do YouTubes, and everything would be fine because I had a lot of notoriety and credibility. Okay, having said that, but here's the deal. Back when B.A.S.S, that's the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, was first getting started, there weren't a lot of rules. And because of me, and because of my aggressive fishing, and because of my walking the line of propriety, there's 4 major Roland rules. Now, let me tell you about the Roland rules. Okay, the Roland rules. The first Roland rule was the second tournament I ever fished was Lake Seminole on the Georgia-Florida border. Well, Ray Scott, who was the president of B.A.S.S at the time, had no cutoff. You could practice as long as you wanted. Well, I wasn't working right then, and so I took the whole month of January and February. I just went down to Lake Seminole and just fished every day, every single day. Come the tournament, I had about 30 good spots, and I went to this spot and that spot, and I won the tournament. So back then we had a dinner, a formal dinner, an awards ceremony, an awards banquet, and I got up and Ray Scott said, well, Roland, tell us how you won the tournament. And I said, you know, Ray, you have no cutoff here. So I came in a whole month ago and I just fished every single day, and I just found all these fish, and it was just fantastic. And that's why I won, because I just spent a whole month fishing and getting ready for it. Roland rule number 1. Roland rule number 1. Ray Scott said, okay, that's a bad deal. Roland fished way too long. We're going to have a cutoff, 3-day cutoff. So that's where the 3-day cutoff started. It was in March 1970. That was the first Roland rule. Okay, the second Roland rule was a couple years later, and we were at let's see, Sam Rayburn Reservoir in Texas. And I had this guy by the name of Elgin Camp. He made trailers down in San Antonio, Texas. And we were way out on this spot in the mid-lake area, and I had a Hopkins spoon because I was doing a lot of guide work at Santee, and I was jigging a lot of spoons deep in 25 and 30 feet of water and catching big striped bass and a few largemouth. So that was the summertime. It was like June of 73 or 4. And I started jigging spoons deep. Well, the problem with the deep deal is when you'd get one, it was all blown up. It was so deep, 40 feet deep or 30 feet deep. He'd come up to the top, and he wouldn't float. He wouldn't swim down good. So I'd catch them, and I'd throw a few of them back, and they'd just float around on the top. And then they didn't have a cull rule, and the limit was 10. So I just threw them in the bottom of the boat, and I didn't care if I killed them. I don't know. It was a bad deal. It was really a bad deal. Elgin Camp complained to Ray and said Roland had 20 or 30 bass all floating around the boat, and a whole bunch of them, 10 or 15, floating in the boat and hopping around dying. And he ended up killing about 20 bass in the process. Sure, he almost won the tournament. He came in second place, and he had like 30 pounds of bass. He had a bunch of big 5 and 6 pounders, but all the smaller ones, a lot of them died. And I'm really glad that Elgin really complained about that, because Ray said, okay, there's going to have to be a cull thing. We started the catch and release program by this time, and we don't want to kill all our bass. So now when you catch a bass, you have to let it go, and that was Roland rule number 2, catch and release. Okay. Roland rule number 3. We're at Lake Okeechobee. It was 1991, I think it was, and the bass were spawning. I'd been down in the Florida Keys, and there were a whole lot of bonefish and tarpon, and we'd get these poling platforms in the front of the boat. We'd build these little things up about 2 or 3 feet high, and would stand up high on this poling platform, and you could see good with polarized glasses. You could see the tarpon and you could see the bonefish coming along. Well, bass are another big deal. I'm not real tall, but when I'd stand up on that poling platform that I'd use for saltwater, I could see the bass beds way out there, another 20, 30-foot past where I could normally see bass. And so I went real close to the Clewiston Channel, in fact, in the Rose Garden right out in front of Clewiston, and I could see 20 or 30 nice bass beds, and nice 3 and 4 and 5 pound bass on them, and I just picked them off right and left. Bam, I won the tournament. Wow, big old giant tournament at Lake Okeechobee. It was my second big win on Okeechobee as well. Well, anyway, Ray asked again, well, Roland, what do you attribute your great win for? And I said, well, you know, I have this poling platform. I can see good. I'm not real tall, and I can see all these bass everywhere. Roland rule number 3, no elevated platforms, no poling platforms, nothing higher than the gunnel of the boat. So that was ingrained in the rules as well. And so now you can't even stand on an ice chest. You just have to stand on the front of your boat. And if you're not real tall, hey, you might not see the fish. But anyway, that was Roland rule number 3. Roland rule number 4. I was up on the Connecticut River in the 90s. I had my Patriots hat on. I loved the Patriots at the time. I'd met a bunch of the guys from the Patriots team. And this guy, Billy the Brick, he was so cool. He stutters a lot. And Billy came into the parking lot when I was practicing. He said, Roland, do you need any help? This was way before you could get help and you could get information at this point, because it was a couple weeks before the tournament. And I was up there practicing. Well, nobody would really listen to Billy because he had this speech impediment. He stuttered a lot. And so consequently, everybody kind of blew him off. But I listened to him because he pulled out of his wallet some clippings of the beautiful fish and tournaments that he had won and nice bass. Even though he didn't speak real plain and he stuttered a lot, you know, he started talking really, really good fishing. And I got real comfortable with him. And the more comfortable we got and the more he talked, the better his speech was. And so I said, okay, Billy, let's go fishing. At that time, you could go a couple weeks early. You could fish with local people like Billy. And we went up the river, and we found above the infield rapids, we took my Ranger boat. Well, the Ranger boat, it's real shallow rocks. He said, Roland, he says, I don't know if you can get your regular bass boat up here because it's so shallow and rocky. You might need some other kind of little small John boat. Anyway, I took the Ranger boat and I said, well, I'm going to try to get it back down. We caught a bunch of 3 and 4 pound bass. I said, Billy, I can win the tournament up here, way up above the infield dam, if I can get my Ranger up here. Well, I came down the rapids and I completely destroyed the bottom of the boat. It was $10,000 worth of damage I did on my boat. Forrest Wood went crazy. All the people at Ranger said, Mom, we're not going to give you any more boats. You're tearing them up so bad. I said, well, I'm going to have to get a jet boat. So where can I get a jet boat? So I had a month to put together a jet boat. Well, I had a big contract with Mercury, and I had another big contract with Ranger, in fact, and they had aluminum boats. I'm going to get an aluminum jet boat. And sure enough, I showed up there. It was so funny because there were a couple other guys heard about it too. And Fishburne was one of them. Stacy King was another one. Charlie Ingram was another one. So there was more than one jet boat. There were like 5 jet boats. We all ran up the river and up through the rocks and hit rocks and went up there. Sure enough, I won the tournament. Again, Roland, what do you attribute your great tournament win to? I said, well, I had a jet boat. Man, I got up above the rocks. Just a couple of us went up there, and sure enough, we all came into the top 10. Jet boat's the deal. Aha. Roland rule number 4, no jet boats. That was my win on the Connecticut River, and consequently, it was Roland rule number 4. Now, there have been some other minor Roland rules, and I'm just going to say those are ingrained in the actual rules of bass right now. And so all those are pretty significant Roland rules, and I'm kind of proud of them because, you know, when you're fishing tournaments, you push the envelope as far as you can. You do what's proper and legal, but you go to the edge. You go to the edge, and that's what I was doing. I was going to the edge of propriety, going to the edge of legality, and consequently I won a lot of tournaments, and I had a lot of success because I was pushing the envelope. But anyway, that's my story for Roland Rules. Listen, I post every Wednesday about 6 o'clock, and I post every Sunday about 6 o'clock. Hey, you guys are so good, and you girls are so good at subscribing. Thanks again, a million. My successful channel, all my advertisers are happy. I'm happy. Hey, I hope you're happy. I'm going to keep these YouTube videos coming, give you a few stories in the process. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.